All right, here we go. Welcome to the Alien Invasion number 244, recorded on Thursday, May 31st, 2018. I'm Dave Nelson, along with Brad Ludwig. Hello, Brad.
Hello.
Coming up, alien killer robots may have destroyed every extraterrestrial civilization in the universe. Details on that, plus a Missouri sphere sighting. I like that. Sphere sighting, and our picks and warnings feature. Before all that, though, our question. All right. Let me start over again. All right. First question. Bradley,
Yes.
what is your favorite alien-themed toy from childhood or any time in your life? And why? Or you could do like childhood and adulthood.
You know what? I used to have a handheld Battlestar Galactica game. It was an electronic game. And your job was to avoid the Cylon Raiders that were coming towards you and destroy them.
That's awesome.
It was a very cool game.
Do you have one like now? Do you have an adult toy that's your favorite? I mean,
No, I know what you meant. We're not going down that road. I'm not even going to insinuate it. You know, I'm trying to think.
You have so many of them.
That's the thing. I have more toys than probably an adult male should.
You probably have more toys now than you ever did as a child.
I would not refute that. Gosh, if I were to boil it down to one, that's tough.
You could go with that Cylon pop vinyl doll behind you.
Gosh, I could.
Stay with the Battlestar Galactica theme.
I could. I do like my Dalek Sec that I have from Doctor Who.
Nice.
Oh, man.
It's a very tough question, isn't it?
Yeah. But I'm not sure if any one is particularly my favorite. And that's kind of... I'm looking around my...
It's like trying to pick a favorite child.
Oh, that's easy.
You only
I only have one. But no, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with that. My Dalek Sec, I think, is the most interesting of my alien Funkos that I think I have.
Okay. All right. So my answer is the Star Trek Bridge from the original series toy from way back in the day, where they had the transporter that you would put your action figure in, and you would spin it and stop, and it would look like the action figure was beaming down to the planet. It had the captain's chair, it had the navigation and con, it had seats, and it had a screen. It was cool. You could close it up and take it with you. It had a handle on it, and I wish I still had it because I think it might be worth something, or at least worth to show off. It would be really cool to show off. I'm sure that you've seen that before. Have you seen that before?
Yes, I have.
It's pretty famous. It's like one of the most sought after or most memorable Star Trek toys from the early line of toys. And the reason I picked this question is it relates to my pick later on.
Ooh.
Actually, hang on. Would it be? Yeah, it'd be my pick. I'm trying to think of an adult toy that I have. That's my favorite. I have a few down here. They're not really toys though. They're just like here's what's his face from the X-Men? Scott Summers.
Scott Summers, Cyclops.
I have Harley Quinn. I have my little phaser that
Oh yeah.
and I have Iron Man right there. There's Iron Man. Um, this is Max Mercury. There.
Oh yeah.
I've got numerous. I have the alien that hung in my car forever, multiple cars. He's now dead, pretty much. So I don't have one toy like considered like a classic toy. I've got my cameras, which are considered toys to me. Not really toys, but they're fun things for me. My hobby related things. But I guess I don't have I'm like you. I don't have a favorite one from my adulthood. So there we go. You know what? Let's ask the listeners. What is your favorite toy from either A, childhood, and or B, adulthood? Let us know. Email aliens@gncasts.com, aliens@gncasts.com. Call our voicemail number, 805-328-3966. All right. That was a fun question. All right. So is it my news story? Yeah, it's my news story. Okay. This is another one of those trying to explain the why we can't find aliens or why aliens haven't visited us.
It's an important topic.
Very good one. All right, here, check this out. How crazy of a headline is this? It has a lot to live up to. Alien killer robots may have destroyed every extraterrestrial civilization in the universe.
Well, there goes that.
It's almost like the Borg, but they weren't really robots. They were cyber
they're cyborgs.
cyborgs. Yeah. I couldn't.
That's
How funny that is? I couldn't think of the word cyborg, but I said Borg.
That's okay.
I didn't make the connection for some reason.
I won't judge.
Okay. So here it is. This is going to be one of those nights. A theoretical physicist believes the reason why Earth hasn't made contact with ET is because alien killer robots have destroyed every extraterrestrial civilization in the cosmos. Alexander Berezin of the National Research University of Alexander Berezin of the National Research University of Electronic Technology in what country do you think that's in?
Wakanda.
No. Second guess.
Prague.
Okay.
That's not a country. Sorry.
It's Russia. This is a Russian university.
Oh, okay.
He came up with a theory to explain the Fermi paradox, which describes the contradiction between the likelihood that alien life is present somewhere in the vastness of the universe and the lack of any evidence to prove its existence. So here is what he has to say. Professor Berezin believes any civilizations of biological organisms, or, this is my favorite part, rogue AIs, which tries to colonize other planets, will inevitably destroy every species in its way. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, wait a second. As the way humanity is, you don't think that we would just destroy and conquer. But he doesn't really mean it that way. He writes, I'm not suggesting that a highly developed civilization would consciously wipe out other life forms. Most likely, they simply won't notice, the same way a construction crew demolishes an anthill to build real estate because they lack incentive to protect it. So
Yeah.
I believe what he's saying is we're going to go into a planet and not really either consider or realize that we're destroying a civilization that lives there. Sort of. But if humanity doesn't achieve interstellar space travel, it is doomed to be eradicated by aliens or extraterrestrial AI powered computers as they expand their civilization. He doesn't really go into detail on the rogue AI or the AI powered computers. But I suppose if like a civilization gets so advanced that they use AI and computers for like space exploration or, advanced parties or whatever, and these AIs get super powerful, they may not think about civilizations that they come in contact either or contact with either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know who we should have talking about that? JF DeBow.
JF Dubow. You know what? That's the answer for almost anything on this show. Is let's talk to JF Dubow about.
Let's talk to JF DeBow about that.
We never have him on.
No.
We should sometime.
Well, someday.
Yeah.
He's a busy guy. He's finishing up his follow up to an AI book that he wrote.
Yep. And the original one is called
The Life Engineered.
The Life Engineered. Is there a title for the second one? I forget.
The Arcanoid?
Arch. No, it's Arch. I forget now. But it's Arch something. Anyways, listener, just look up JF Dubow and find his books. He's an awesome author. He killed Brad once, actually.
Yeah, it turns out I'll be mentioned again.
Really?
In the follow-up to A God in the Shed.
Oh, cool. So you're not really dead? Or is it a prequel?
Oh, I think it's, that guy's a real jackass. I think that's how it'll just all pan out.
One line.
Glad he's dead. And then everybody moves on. They go, yeah, you're not wrong.
I can always tell the interest in a news story when we totally get sidetracked.
Yeah, there is that.
No, but this is kind of a neat story. Berezin warns the incentive to grab all available resources is strong, and it only takes one bad actor to ruin the equilibrium. Real world example, somebody who wants to charge tariffs for certain products from their country. Just say. With no possibility to prevent them from appearing at. Okay, hang on. Let me start that whole thing over again.
Okay.
Berezin warns the incentive to grab all available resources is strong, and it only takes one bad actor to ruin the equilibrium, with no possibility to prevent them from appearing at interstellar scale. That is worded weirdly. One rogue AI can potentially populate the entire supercluster with copies of itself, turning every solar system into a supercomputer, and there is no use asking why it would do that. This is really weird. This is worded weird, maybe because it's like translated from Russian to English or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, I thought that was interesting. Another excuse or another possibility why we haven't ran into, or had first contact with an alien species of some kind. What do you think of this one, Brad?
Whenever I think about AI, I do get a little nervous because at a certain point, programming is, and I'm just talking like code, it's very lean. It doesn't take into account anything other than facts and figures. We are messy as a species because there are emotions. You can't really write code for that, at least not at this point in time. So when you read something like this and they like ignore something or just view it as possibly inferior because it's messy. I could see that happening quite easily.
Or they ignore something or don't take something into account because it doesn't they don't need it for their plans, or they don't think it's necessary for the end result of something.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I think it would be easy is the wrong word, but it's logical to me. It makes sense that if something was so messy and didn't follow a certain track of logic
Yeah.
to a certain point, that you just go, it's like that annoying person at work that you really don't want to talk to. You know, it's kind of like that.
Okay.
To me, that just kind of makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get where you're going with that, and that does make sense. Now, I think AI is going to be great, but it may have a double-edged sword. Like, we may become too dependent on AI, or let AI have too much power, and they could, hurt humanity in some way without us even realizing or intending it to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's a fear everybody has with AI.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not alone then. Good.
No, absolutely not.
We start a new podcast called The AI Invasion. But I
The
think,
follow-up show.
yeah, I think we'd have to be smarter people to tackle those kind of subjects. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe you could. Who knows? Anyway, that's interesting. So there you go. That's the end of the story, and that was a messy way to go out. I don't know. Well, I'll edit it and post. All right. I'm not having a good night. All right. So let's move on to your sighting, Brad.
Let's do that.
All right. So this is the portion of the podcast where we talk about an incident. Somebody noticed in the sky a light. Could it be an extraterrestrial craft, or something reflecting off the surface of a lake, for example? It could be either or. And that's what we try to look into here with the sighting section. So what do you got what did you bring us this time around?
Just before we get into this, as I was looking through New Fork, which is now my go-to website, I found like an intriguing entry for a UFO sighting. And the beautiful thing about New Fork is that people go through and actually look at these, the people of New Fork. And there's this beautiful little write-up about this thing that happened. It was like 8 hours long, and it was just a beautifully written piece of work that literally was uh, the equivalent of probably a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper. And at the end, it had a note from somebody in New Fork saying, upon looking at the photos that they provided us, we determined that it was Venus.
Oh, no.
So it was like this long, and and God bless, they wrote all these facts and details and provided pictures. And it was like, oh, wow, there's something happening here, and it's really cool. And then you get to the end, and it's like, okay, well, New Fork did their due diligence. They looked at everything. They checked the facts, and they determined that it was Venus. So it's not like a website where they go, oh my gosh, we were visited by aliens on everything. They are skeptical, and they do actually investigate and do their due diligence. So I had to change my pick that I was going to do initially.
Lesson for you on your end, Brad.
Yes.
Go to the end of the report, or go to the end of the article to make sure that everything's copacetic.
Oh, and I do, but it was like I was reading and reading, and I was scrolling as I was reading, and then I got to the end, and I'm like, oh, okay. but it was compelling from the get-go. So you get to the end, you're like, oh well, it was a great read.
Wah, wah, wah.
Anyways, here's something. Now after that huge buildup, here's something that sucked that I found. How's that, Dave? No, this was very interesting. This happened in Parkville, Missouri. I like saying Missouri instead of Missouri. Okay, the shape of this particular craft was a sphere that somebody saw on the 12th of May, so just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
The duration of this was 15 minutes.
that's a good long time.
Yeah, that is a good. So they saw this at 10:50 their time,
PM.
and they saw it for 15 minutes. And here's what they wrote. We saw one extremely fast-moving object that we thought was a satellite, but it was moving at about 4 or 5 times faster than normal. We then saw another singular object about 5 minutes later. These objects look like a solid, constant, hazy ball of light. These lights resembled a hazy star, but at 10 times the size and brightness.
Hmm.
Several other of the objects moved from south to north, but trailed off to the east and did not follow the normal trajectory of a satellite. It is going to be one of those nights, trailing off to the horizon. About 5 minutes after we saw the pack of about 30 of the same objects moving together south to north, following the same path of the previous two. So now we're talking about 32 objects.
Wow.
After the pack came by, another 10 to 15 came over. We are now up to, at max, 47.
Jesus.
I honestly, this is the writer of this, I honestly can say I have never seen something that has given me goosebumps like this before. Please call me to follow up for a more in-depth report.
Wow. I want to know more.
Yeah, I read this. I was like, oh, wow. There's a lot going on here. And I was really sad that nobody from New Fork had a follow-up or a bit of information for them, or to let us know that they've investigated it. So
what could explain this?
Yeah, that's a lot. 5/12. Hang on.
May 12th. What was going on in the sky on May 12th? Brad is investigating. He's putting something in Google. Let's see the results. May 12th, 2018. What was going on?
Well, let's see. The Eta Aquariid meteor shower was May 7th. So that's a meteor shower that seems to come out of the constellation of Aquarius. But that is about a week before the day in question. Let's see. I am going to flip ahead here. The Eta Aquariids, excuse me, are leavings from Halley's Comet.
Interesting. That's cool.
And it is a twice yearly show.
Huh.
Yeah.
But that was a week before this happened, right?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Okay. How about it being an object or the debris of something that burned up in the atmosphere?
Maybe.
But then it sounds like they were controlled, like a controlled flight of some kind.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, I'm looking through all of these other sources, and yeah, May 7th. So it's, a week before.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they're about 10 times the size and brightness of what they say a hazy star. I'm not that's kind of but how do you measure something like that?
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit subjective. so it's hard to determine the actual size. And we don't really know if they were consistent in their size. So
They weren't fireworks, were they? They weren't.
no, you would have heard
Yeah.
a pop or something like that. And they traveled from north to south. There was an actual pattern that they followed
Yeah. All right.
across the sky. So I would say no.
Okay. All right.
And wow, 45 to 40, well, 42 to 47 objects approximately. That's crazy.
So
That's a lot.
you fork, get on this. We want to know. Give us your expert opinion as to what you think this was, because
Darn right.
I'm curious, and I know Brad is curious as well.
I am too.
All right. So, as we always say, listener, if you see something, say something, let us know. We'd love to report personally from your report on the sighting segment. You can email aliens at gncasts, that's casts.com, or call our voicemail number 805-328-3960. Hang on. 805-328-3966. Bam.
Woohoo.
All right. We are moving along at a good clip, as somebody says. All right, let's do our sightings. I mean, our picks and warnings. Picks and warnings. All right, so this is the segment of the podcast. This is the part of the podcast where we talk about something that we have entertained ourselves with that pertains to aliens in some way. Could be a movie, could be a TV show, music, video game, books, comic books, anything that has just the slightest bit connection to aliens in some way. And that's kind of what mine is this week, but not really. It's a documentary series on Netflix called, and I don't know if you've heard about this or not, The Toys That Made Us.
No, I have not.
I didn't know about this till I was listening to another podcast, and it was a pick of theirs or a recommendation or their review of this. And I had to go home right away and watch it. It's got 2 seasons. Season 1 premiered. The first episode was about Star Wars toys. Season 2 premiere was about Star Trek toys. I watched the Star Trek episode first all the way through. I watched the Star Wars episode partway through second. But I can say that it's very well put together. They put a lot, like they start each episode with kind of a recreation of what happened back in the day when whatever significant event had to do with these toys. So with Star Trek, what was it again? I forget now. With Star Wars, it was the guy from Kenner going to visit the set of Star Wars A New Hope and just freaking out. He was so excited to go back and for them to make these toys. So I'm going to just kind of describe both episodes just in a little bit of a way. Star Trek, they focused on, number one, it not being Star Wars, because these guys they favor Star Wars for some reason, but it kind of makes sense because Star Trek was first, but Star Wars, they kind of mastered the whole merchandising around their property, and they were very successful at it. So Star Trek, they talked about how good Star Wars was, but the fact that Star Wars or Star Trek was first. And it kind of got off to a bumpy start. There was a company that didn't really specialize in toys, but they made these really authentic looking scale models. And in fact, the first company that made toys for Star Trek, they made the shuttlecraft for the original series, the full size shuttlecraft.
Holy cow.
It's kind of interesting because it wasn't big enough. They
Is that you talking about the Galileo?
yeah, they had to like hunch over. Like they couldn't stand up in it.
Sure.
And they talked about that. So eventually this company stopped making Star Trek toys and it moved on to the next company and then the next company. And it got to the point, the first really successful company was, I forget the name, but they were very successful at making Star Trek toys and action figures. I'm just trying to remember how it went. Eventually, oh, okay. So they they got really successful at it because of how successful Star Trek was in syndication.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Syndication kind of brought them success in selling these Star Trek toys. But then they put all this money into the original Star Wars or Star Trek the motion picture and it kind of bombed.
Yeah.
And so did their toys.
Yeah.
But they got redeemed with Star Trek The Wrath of Khan because that was a good movie.
That was huge.
Yeah. So eventually this company stopped making the Star Trek toys. And actually, the guy that ran this company, he got charged for like wire fraud and all these other like white collar crimes. And the company went bankrupt.
Yeah.
But then they continued on with the story of Star Trek toys, and you eventually got to these companies that made these really realistic, like toys that both adults and kids would love. And then I think for Star Trek Discovery, McFarlane Toys are making the toys for that, for the current run of Star Trek. So,
oh, sure,
it was cool. I like because oh, I totally forgot the original, not the original company, but the company that I told you went bankrupt. They were the ones that made the bridge action set with the transporter.
I had that.
You did.
Yes, where you put your. I didn't have any of the figures though, so it was like my parents got me the Star Trek set, but I had none of the Star Trek figures.
They're putting your GI Joes or whatever in there.
I had other. I can't even remember what other figures I had at the time. Probably Star Wars. But there was a green button and a red button at the top, and then there was a dial that you would spin. So you'd put your person in the thing and you'd spin it and it would spin around, and you would press, if you press like green, it would flip to the other side. So it would look like that character just like disappeared, had been transported. And then if you spun it again and pushed the other button, then the opposite side would show and it looked like they came back. So yeah, it was really cool.
Did you have the whole bridge set or just the transporter? Because they sold the transporter separately too.
Well, maybe I had a different one because it was like a full kit that you could close the door on.
Yeah, that's the one I had. I had
okay.
Were you listening at the question? Because I was talking about this same thing.
Oh, I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
That's awesome.
Sorry.
I want to go back real quick to one of the first companies that made Star Trek toys. It was funny because they didn't really know too many details about the show when they started making the toys. And then they got sort of like, I don't know, greedy, and they started putting they didn't want to make their toys specific for Star Trek, so they just took toys they already were making and like slapped Star Trek labels on them.
Oh no.
There was like a Star Trek tank and Spock and McCoy, or Spock and Kirk parachuting down. They had a parachute set, and like there was all this like army toys, but they just put the Star Trek label on it and they called them Star Trek toys. It was pretty stupid. And then the whole funny part of this episode was there was a helmet, and you may have seen this, a helmet with a siren on top of it. and it had Spock or whatever character you wanted to have on the front. Dumbest thing ever, but they sold it as a Star Trek toy.
Yeah, they ran with it.
Yeah. So Star Wars, I didn't get all the way through, but Star Wars, the company that eventually would make Star Wars toys was Kenner. And they were this small toy company from like, I think I want to say Cincinnati, Ohio, that really weren't known for much. They were just a small regional toy company, but no toy company would take on Star Wars. They didn't believe in the property. But this upstart company were like, what do we have to lose? We could totally do this. And they had to rush out their toys because they had a very small window between the time that the deal went through and Star Wars actually hit theaters. So they talked about how they took pieces of this toy and pieces of they actually went out and bought other companies' toys to make the prototypes for their Star Trek toys. So basically they took apart other toy companies' toys, action figures, and created these Star Wars action figures. There was all these cool stories about how they had to hurry up and get these prototypes made to get them to go out to Hollywood and get them approved by George Lucas and 20th Century Fox, and then come back and like get all these made in time for the movie to be released. It was a very cool story, and I highly recommend this series. I haven't looked through the rest of the episodes. I know there's one about Lego. That would be good, but I don't know what the rest of the episodes are like. I'm sure they're pretty awesome as well, but it's called The Toys That Made Us. The 2 episodes that I watched were Star Wars and Star Trek. It's on Netflix, and I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 flying saucers.
What?
Yeah. Go out and watch it today. Bam. Yeah, it's very much a nostalgia thing. If you grew up in the 70s and 80s, you will love this show.
Excellent. I will give it a
a
look-see.
Put on your favorites list.
Word.
Right. That was rough. I couldn't remember exactly how the episode went. That's how my brain works. I'm like, I watched it. I know I watched it. I couldn't put it into words exactly how it went.
Sure.
Okay. Let's wrap this episode up.
No judging here.
Thank you. That's going to do it for this episode of the Alien Invasion, a Galactic Network podcast. If you would like to read more about the stories that we covered on this episode, click the links in the show notes. We'd like to thank Monkey Warhol for providing our intro music. It's a song called Alien Syndrome, and you can find out more about that and other stuff he's done. He's got some new music coming out soon. monkeywarhol.bandcamp.com. monkeywarhol.bandcamp.com. Also to Rutward von Dernberg, a composer from Germany, for our closing song called Be Water. Learn more about him and his music at thecaravel.net. The Caravel, CARAVEL.net. And you went there, right? You went to the website? It was pretty cool.
Yep, and I signed up for like his newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
And about once a week he sends something out.
And it's really interesting. He like describes music theory and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. It's if you're a music geek, I would highly recommend checking it out.
Awesome. Okay. Also, finally, thanks to Ben Olson for recording our disclaimer audio at the start of this episode.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay, sorry. I must be off. I forgot to pause for the thanks, Ben.
That's why I quick shouted it out.
Go to benolson.com for more information about what he does. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Before we leave, final thought. Brad, what do you got? Did you go see the movies this month?
I think we're going to see Deadpool 2 tomorrow night, and I think the next week or probably maybe the following week we'll be able to see Solo.
But you saw Avengers Infinity War.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, let's say that was our pick for the week. How many flying saucers would you give it? Oh, push you in the spot.
Yeah, I give it 4.5.
Okay, that's very respectable. It's very good. All right. So you enjoyed it then?
I did. I
Okay.
did.
I went to see Solo last week. I liked it. A lot of people don't like it, but for me, it was a great movie. I enjoyed it. So, if you like, it's a fun summer movie. It's not like this huge important story. It's just fun. It's fun. You learn about the origin of all this cool Han Solo, Chewie, Lando story stuff. You learn all about that, and it's neat. So
cool.
Okay. Thanks again for joining us. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
All right. Let me just save this real quick and we'll start the next one. You're good on time, right? You're fine with recording the second one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So this is 244. We're almost to 250, Brad.
What?
Yeah. Number 244. All right. So I can close that. All right. And let's go. You don't need to get something or anything, do you?
Nope. I got my water. I'm good to go.
Here we go. Welcome to the Alien Invasion number 245, recorded on Thursday, May 31st, 2018. My name's Dave Nelson. His name is Brad Ludwig. Hello, Brad.
Hello.
This is what we have coming up on this episode. The results from the first ever alien exo civilization study are in, and we'll tell you what they are and what they recommend. A square craft in the sightings. So square. Plus our picks and warnings feature. Before all that, though, our question. All right. Pause. Hit record again. And Brad, what's your question?
Dave Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
If you could visit any Star Trek planet/civilization, what would it be?
Good question, Brad. That's a tough one.
That's the entire Star Trek universe, all the different shows.
Oh, okay.
And movies.
Star Trek TV show, episodes, and movies. Animated series?
Included.
Okay. I think I'm going to go with the planet of the portal that you can jump through to different times.
The Guardian on the Guardian?
Yes, the Guardian on the Edge of Forever, or the Guardian of Forever, or whatever his name is. Because not only are you visiting an alien planet, but you can travel to other time periods in the history of the universe. Because I'm guessing it's not just Earth history, right? They just showed Earth history on that episode, but I'm sure it's throughout the entire galaxy.
Yeah, it can't be limited to just Earth people.
Yeah. Plus, if the Klingons or the Borg or whatever bad alien is after you attacks, you can just jump through and they can't follow you because you're somewhere in history.
Exactly.
But the only hard part is you have to time that. Like you have to sit there and watch it cycle through, right? And then figure out where you want to go, because you don't want to just jump in willy-nilly, right?
No, and it plays at a specific speed. Mm-hmm. So, you could probably say, okay, rewind. Go back 1,000 years. You might be able to do that, but yeah, the playback was at a specific point. Unless they had like a computerized ballista where you just sit on it, and at the specific point that you programmed it for, it just flung you right in there.
Sure. Yeah, I could figure that out. Or you could hijack the computer. Like you could hack the Guardian and control it or slow it down.
Sure.
Or you could like interface your tricorder with it.
The ballista on the edge of forever.
What?
Flinging you right through that one moment in time.
All right, so that's my answer. I think my backup answer would be maybe one of the planets in the it was the Gamma Quadrant that you had to go through the wormhole to get to, or was that the not Beta, Gamma, Delta? Delta, that was Voyager, right? Delta Quadrant. Gamma Quadrant was Deep Space Nine that you had to go through the wormhole to get to it.
Yep.
So probably a world in the Gamma Quadrant, just because it's really far away and you don't know what you're going to get. So just a random planet in the Gamma Quadrant would be my second answer.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So what planet would you want to visit in the Star Trek universe?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Bring on Homeworld, because you want to drink blood wine with some warriors.
I want to buy my own batleth.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's tough. It's hard. There's so many of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Ooh, go to the.
It would be interesting to go to the planet of the Telosians.
Okay, remind me who they are again and what they're all about.
They're the aliens that Captain Pike ends up staying with.
Oh yeah,
because they can project basically anything that you can imagine. They can project for you.
Okay. Yep.
So,
because he ended up back there after he got all mutilated and
after the accident,
confined to the wheelchair with the two lights.
Yeah.
There was only one.
You'd think that with all of the advancements in technology, he'd get more than yes or no lights.
This is 1960s future. Come on.
It's one of those things where you just kind of wonder if that whole mentality of how they viewed disabled Americans, if they're like, well, it's way in the future, that's all you're going to get. If there was that prevailing thought process in that time period, or what?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to go down that road much further, but like I was reading an article today, within 5 years, they're going to be able to 3D print cornea transplants for people.
I saw that post of yours. That's very interesting. I read it too.
And that is amazing. I mean, right now you have to, you get a cornea. If you're lucky, they can, you could get a transplant. I think corneas can be transplanted from another person, if I recall. There's the...
Now,
yeah, they could replace the lens that's in your eye with something, but
if you're blind, I guess people go blind for different reasons, right? I guess
sure,
a certain kind of blindness for them to be able to replace your cornea to restore your sight.
Yeah, so they can do a corneal transplantation, which you can get donated corneal tissue to replace your damaged tissue. Mm-hmm. So what they're going to be able to do is actually 3D print a new cornea for you to insert into your eye to help people regain the vision that they've lost. And that's nuts. That's amazing. That's like a good kind of nuts.
Yeah, 3D printing that's the future right there.
Absolutely.
3D printing and AI 3D printing.
Yeah. Which is essentially like the uh oh, oh what'd
So,
they get their food out of?
oh,
The
replicator.
the replicator. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's basically it. Yeah. In a future, in some years from now, when 3D printing is so good and so fast, I could see them, being able to basically make anything. As long as you have the right technology and the right juice to put in it to make all this stuff.
Yeah.
All right. There you
Anyways, yeah, so the Talos Talos 4 is where I would like to go, Dave Nelson.
their heads wouldn't freak you out. Those big bulbous heads with the veins that pulsate when they're trying to think or when they're projecting.
If a being is going to be able to basically let me experience anything I would want to, I would not be speciest in that regard. You're like, you do you, and if you're good with me being here and you're willing to, let me do this thing and pretend whatever, that would be great. Thank you.
All right. Good answer.
Here's my Quatloos. Sign me up.
I totally forgot about Qualoos. Yes.
30 Quatloos on the newcomer.
Perfect. All right. We'll end it right there. All right. So I guess it's your news story, my friend.
It is.
Jump in whenever you're ready.
Boom. So, when last we spoke, we talked about life in the universe.
Yeah, we talked about why we haven't met aliens yet.
Correct.
And the guy's theory was that either our civilization or some other civilization or rogue AI has gone out and basically destroyed every civilization in the universe.
Which universe is a pretty big place, so it's hard to say. We may never know. But this is kind of interesting. What if we muck up our planet so bad we need to go somewhere else?
That's a distinct possibility.
Or let's say another civilization mucks up their planet so bad. How would this go down in regards to climate change? So here's the title of the story. First ever alien exo-civilization study says humans have 3 choices when it comes to climate change. Here we go. Whether aliens end up being squid-faced monstrosities or Wookiees, if they've got the intelligence and appropriate... You make a great Wookiee noise. I wish I could do that. And appropriate gripping appendages to create a civilization, they're probably going to run into the same problems as humans when it comes to climate change. At least that's what astrophysicist Adam Frank says. He and his team have published the first study mapping out possible histories of alien planets, the civilizations they grow, and the climate change that follows. All in all, it's not looking good for our hypothetical alien friends or us.
Great.
Yeah. Frank and his team relied on the field of population biology, which is a specialized type of ecology, and simulations of both planets' climate and the types of fuels a civilization might use to drive its growth. One high-impact fuel, similar to fossil fuels, and one low-impact fuel, similar to solar energy. According to Frank, this provides a neat little snow globe that allows researchers to watch the effect of climate change on an entire exo-civilization, the new name for an alien race. Frank is quoted as saying, "We use these tools to build a simple model for the evolution of a civilization with its planet. In our approach, the exo-civilization's population and the planetary environment are braided together by energy use and its consequences." The planet gives the civilization energy resources, and the civilization consumes them to do the work of civilization building. Now, though they are painting in broad strokes, the findings of this study are disturbing. Here we go.
Right.
3 paths presented themselves, all of which assume that the exo-civilization in question realizes that its energy use is harming the planet and tries to switch from high-impact fuel use to low-impact fuel.
Okay, Brad, can I
Yes.
introduce each one? Could I say number 1?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Number 1.
The die-off. The civilization undergoes a massive population loss as the ecological blowback creates hostile conditions for life before stabilizing. A stabilized, here we go. A sustainable planetary civilization was achieved, but at a high cost, says Franks. In many of the models, we saw as much as 70% of the population perish before a steady state was reached. In reality, it's not clear that a complex technological civilization like ours could survive such a catastrophe.
This goes back to one of the other theories as to why we haven't met aliens yet. They've died off before
Yep.
they get a chance to achieve a certain technological advancement where they can go out into space.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Number 2.
The soft landing. The civilization makes the change to lower impact fuels in time and finds an equilibrium with the planet's ecosystem before they feel any significant detrimental effects.
That was short.
Very short.
Okay. And finally, number 3.
Full blown collapse. The civilization. Let's just start that one over. The civilization realizes that their actions have triggered a runaway climate change effect that can't be mitigated and subsequently goes extinct.
Great.
Yeah. The conclusions are dramatic, but if we've learned anything about Earth, it's that even real life climate science has trouble explaining what's happening to our planet. There is more. Go to the link that we'll have in the show notes. The website is outerplaces.com, and they have a pretty robust science section. So I recommend you check it out.
I'm gonna have to see that. I'm interested in that website. It sounds interesting. So I had a thought while you were reading.
Mm-hmm.
This would make a cool video game to play out all these different scenarios. Like kind of a world builder thing where the eventual end is up to you basically on how you develop your civilization.
Somebody made that.
Oh, yeah.
There's SimCity and SimEarth.
That's okay.
Now, the more recent versions of SimCity do allow for, I think once you got to a certain level of, being able to build technology and whatnot, you could actually leave the city. You'd actually blast off into space. And SimEarth, man, the last time I played SimEarth was on a Macintosh in, I want to say 1993.
Yep. I played it back then as well.
And I could not get life to really start or stay after I played it for a number of hours. Everything just catastrophically died.
As I recall, it was hard as well for me.
Yeah, it's not easy, and it does go with the theory of Gaia, a living planet, that the planet, while not conscious, compensates. And whether that's not necessarily a tree huggy consciousness, but all of life on Earth reacts and counteracts certain things, and it all works as a living organism as a whole. I guess is the only way to really explain it without it actually being a a person or a consciousness.
So it's not the Living Planet from Marvel.
No, it is not.
What was his name?
Ego.
Ego, the Living Planet. AKA, what was the actor's name in Guardians 2?
Peter Quill or Chris Pratt?
No.
Dave Bautista? Oh, Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. There you go. All right. Interesting. You know what? I kind of want to look for a mobile game to see if there's something similar in the mobile frontier when it comes to a game like that. I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting to play something like that. You know, on your mobile device, Brad, on your mobile. You know, in Canada they call it mobile, not mobile.
I could see that.
Yep, mobile process. It's a process. Brad? Okay, sorry.
It is a process.
All right, here we go. And on to the sightings. Sightings. All right. Okay, this is where we talk about UFOs, flying saucers. Something that somebody saw one time that they think maybe it could have been an alien craft, but, 9 times out of 10, it's probably there's an earthly explanation for them. But once in a while, we'll find a good story. Like you and I always try to find one that's not obviously mistaken for something terrestrial, right?
Sure.
Okay. This case, for me, square UFO spotted over the Philippines. And I think what they meant was cube, because a square, it wouldn't be 3-dimensional, right? A square would just be a square. No, only 2 sides. No. Yeah. Anyways, a witness in Angeles City reported watching a square, or rectangular shaped object at 700 feet moving south toward Manila. According to testimony in case 83456 from the Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON.
MUFON.
Thank you, Mulder. The witness is a trained observer as a U.S. Marine who was having coffee at his computer at 5:45 a.m. on May 1st, 2017, when the incident began. Here we go. I heard my dogs carrying on. I heard my dogs carrying on outside and went to investigate, the witness said. At first, I thought they had barked at nothing when I suddenly caught sight of the object. I watched it for 30 seconds or so before realizing that it wasn't a plane, helicopter, or hot air balloon. And he ran into the house to grab his cell phone as it was the closest camera available. The object was moving away. The object first appeared to be about 700 feet high in the air, but as the object had moved into the background of my house, it appeared to be gaining altitude, and I snapped 3 photos as it passed beyond the peak of the roof. The object made no sound at all and had no visible lights of any kind. It seemed to be moving about the same speed as a small plane at first and was completely out of sight in about 3 minutes or less, apparently gaining speed. The witness reviewed the images taken. The witness reviewed the images taken. When I first looked at the pictures, I thought I missed it, as it looked like a speck of dust or dirt. I then downloaded them to my desktop computer and cropped the photos, and then I could see better detail. I was a bit stunned when I saw it, as I had never seen any craft like this before, and it clearly had some type of leg structure for landing. And we have the picture on our document here, and we'll put it in the show notes. of the podcast. Brad, are you looking at it right now? Do you see?
I am.
Yeah. What do you think of that? It's a copy of a copy, so
Yeah,
and it's zoomed in, I'm sure. It's cropped, all that stuff.
it looks like a cut up paper bag hovering in the air. I'm going to do a screen share here for our YouTubers.
Okay.
And here you go. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Boom. Can I? Oh, whoops.
Zoom and enhance.
Hang on. Gotta make sure I'm on the right window. Okay, so here you go. It looks like, actually, if you've seen pictures of the classic game Pac-Man, it looks like one of the ghosts from Pac-Man.
Oh, yeah, it does kind of. Yeah.
But it looks like it's a brownish colored hovering, and that's why I said it looks kind of like a hovering paper bag. But it's got like, almost look like, they're not, tendrils is the wrong word, but it just, they've got like, they almost look like rounded off pyramids or triangles at the bottom in 4 places. 2 you can see because they're kind of facing towards you, but the other 2 are off to either side. Either that or it looks like Mike Wazowski, because it almost looks like there's an eyeball in the center there, like right here. It almost looks like an eyeball. Like Mike Wazowski like swallowed a bunch of helium and he's floating away and he's brown for some reason.
Who's Mike Wazowski?
Oh, Mike Wazowski is a character from Disney Pixar's oh my gosh, it's my son's like second favorite movie, for God's sake. Monsters Incorporated. There we go.
Yep. Neat. It kind of looks like it could be that one alien from The Simpsons. The ones with all the tentacles.
Sure.
You know, it's got they also have like a space helmet on, sort of.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. All right. Let us know what you think. Email aliens@gncasts.com. The one thing that it has going for it is there's a comparison here, because in the picture there's the object, but then there's like the roof of the house.
Yeah.
So you kind of, it's not just out in the sky. It's
one of those spinning domed vents that you might see on the top of a house or a building.
Yeah. So could be something real, or it could be something not anything really. But let us know what you think. Email aliens@gncasts.com or call our voicemail. God damn it.
It's okay. I still love you, Dave.
Haven't done the show for over a month. That's my excuse right there.
There's no shame in it.
Call our voicemail number, 805-328-3966, 805-328-3966.
666.
All right. And finally, well, not finally, but second to finally, we have our picks and warnings. So let me get you into it. This is the part of the podcast where we talk about something that we have watched, listened to, played, made, anything involving aliens of some kind in an entertainment sort of a way. And this time around, it's Brad with his pick or warning. Could be either.
What? It is. Now, I think for those of you who have been listening to the program for a while, know that Dave and I have a love for the CW show Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this season, and I mentioned it in a previous show because this is not the first time.
2 episodes ago, you had a pick of Supergirl.
That's right.
Yeah.
And one of the big mysteries this season is 3 of the Legion of Superheroes comes back in time to fix an issue, and Supergirl is there. There are 3 other tubes, all 6. There were 6 Legionnaires, Legion of Superhero members, who are in like these cryostasis tubes. Now we've only seen 3. We've seen Brainiac 5, we've seen Imra Ardeen or Saturn Girl, and we've seen Mon-El, who Mon-El was Kara's love interest last season. But we've got these 3 other tubes, and there's been no mention as to what other. There's Legionnaires in there, but they haven't said who. And the episode 18, which aired the beginning of May on the CW, mentions one of the 3 people in the tubes. Now, the reason why they're still in the tubes is because they had been infected with something called the Blight, and it was going to kill them. So Brainiac 5, being the super, obviously, brainy, the super smart guy, put them in stasis until they could figure out a cure or get rid of the person who becomes Blight and carries this disease throughout the galaxy. And that one of the Legionnaires is Chameleon or Chameleon Boy. And he is a Durlan. What is a Durlan?
Yes, I was thinking that. What is a Durlan, Brad?
Do you remember Linda Carter playing the president?
Mm-hmm.
And she is an alien?
Yeah.
She is a Durlan.
Oh, okay.
They are a shape-shifting race that can shift into any known creature, any known being, whether that's animal or mammal, whatever, reptile, doesn't matter. And he can take that shape. He can look like another person if he wants to. So he's he gets to do a lot of stealth type missions because he can become other creatures or look like other people. He's the ultimate disguise artist. We don't get to see him in this episode, but we at least get to hear his name. And I was clapping. I was like, oh, that's so awesome. And, Anessa was sitting next to me going, what?
Did you explain to her?
Whenever we watch a show and there's some kind of Easter egg, I will lean over, I'll go, I'll have my comic nerd moment, and then I'll explain what it's about. Whether we're pausing or if it's a quick, little explanation, I'll give that to her right away. Because nobody likes that guy. Like, hey, that's really cool. What is it? Never mind. You won't understand. No, I want to explain that and share that with her and tell her about it, or I've got God knows how many comics and trade paperbacks that we can look at stuff and whatever. So that's something that we share and enjoy. So in this particular episode, they do mention the Durlan chameleon. They call him Chameleon, but in the classic DC comics, he's called Chameleon Boy. Everybody in the Legion of Superheroes, because they all started out as teenagers, they are either boy or lad at the end of their name. Sun Boy, Cosmic Boy, Lightning Lad.
1960s. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. But when you get into more, instead of Shadow Lass, we had, oh crap, now I can't remember what they called her. Not Shade. Something like that. No, I can't remember the name. It was something other than that. So, they tried to update the names so they don't sound like, they're trapped in the 50s or early 60s. So they call him Chameleon. We're towards the end of the season of Supergirl, and, the big bad this season is a character called Rain, who is a sleeper Kryptonian.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way of describing her, yeah.
And who was shot to Earth from Krypton before it was destroyed to basically kill Kara Zor-El. They had a thing against the House of El. So, anyway, Yeah, so that's basically her job. And what's really weird, and they haven't explained, is this Rain character, or Samantha, as she is known. It's like a dual personality. It's the best way to explain it. There is Sam or Samantha, and then there is Rain. And Samantha had a baby in her teens. We don't know who the father was or anything. And that may not even be important at all. But she has this daughter called Ruby, and the Rain personality of Samantha knows that the only way that Samantha will fully submit and leave that portion of her psyche behind and let Rain fully take over the body, because there's kind of like a struggle between the two and they'll flip back and forth. And the Rain personality knows that Samantha will completely give up if her daughter is killed. So that is Rain's current mission, is to kill Ruby. So Supergirl's adopted sister is working to keep Ruby safe in this episode. So there you go. So the big takeaway here is that the President of the United States in the Supergirl National City universe of the Arrowverse, Earth 38, is a Durlan, and this chameleon is a 31st century Durlan that is a part of the Legion of Superheroes.
Did you watch this week's episode yet?
I believe I did. That's the one with the alien that was trying to kill Alex, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, then I did.
Mon-El and Kara went into space.
Yes.
And they landed on that thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say because that could be a spoiler.
It's very significant, and it's one of the reasons why they recast a particular character.
Oh, that's right. That is a different actress.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I have one other question pertaining to the Arrowverse.
Correct.
Not Supergirl.
Yes.
But The Flash for next season.
Okay.
They're supposed to be introducing Batwoman, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think she's going to be in their universe, or do you think she's going to be in some other universe? Like Supergirl's not on their Earth, right?
No, I know. Yep, I know. Yeah, because Supergirl is on a different Earth completely, and it's kind of assumed that Black Lightning is on another. It's kind of ambiguous. You're kind of getting the feeling that it might be on another Earth, but we're not sure.
They've mentioned on Black Lightning other heroes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then he might actually be in Green Arrow's universe. Were I a betting man, because I know that they slipped in to an episode of Arrow this season, they mentioned Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
They didn't mention Batman, but they mentioned Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
So were I a betting man, I think that Batwoman is from the Arrowverse, from that particular Earth.
Yeah, and I think they're also going to bring in the concept of Gotham City too. So
yeah, and they did mention Gotham as well. Okay. What would be interesting is, oh, that's not even the same Earth. Okay, here's a quick bit of down low on Batwoman. Okay, Batwoman is a former, well, her father was in the military, and he trained his daughter to be kind of a badass. Her name is Kathy Kane. Now, she was first introduced in the mid to late 50s, and she had kind of a goofy costume, and she was like this poser who wanted to be Batman and was totally infatuated with him. But this newer version of Batwoman is a complete badass. And she is like a take no prisoners. She was inspired by Batman, which is why she became Batwoman, and has a costume that has a number of nods to his costume. Um, Now, what's really interesting is Kathy Kane is romantically linked to Maggie Sawyer in
Mm,
the comics.
yep, I heard that.
Now, we've seen, if you've watched CW's Supergirl, you know that Kara's sister, Alex, was dating a Maggie Sawyer. So, whether or not they have a Maggie Sawyer in the universe that Batwoman's from, or whether that, I mean, for all we know, maybe that Batwoman is from Supergirl's world. I mean, we don't know yet. But like I said, if I were a betting man, I would say she's from Arrow's Earth One.
Either way, next season's going to be pretty cool because of the introduction of a certain character in the season finale of The Flash.
Yeah, a lot of speculation as to what's going to happen there.
Yeah, we got a few months to wait.
And yeah, based on a couple of things that have kind of been leaked, we're going to get explanations of that particular character's appearances throughout this current season that has just passed.
She was scattered, like she would appear once in a while, and they didn't really explain who she was, or she didn't really introduce
She was the
herself.
mystery girl.
Yeah, yep.
And
All
she
right.
seems like in different like emotional states when we see her each time.
Yeah.
So it may somehow dovetail with her ability. Oh, I don't want to give anything away. It's going to be explained this coming season.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for the DC lesson once again.
I'm sorry. I
Oh,
zoned out and I'm like a shark when they feed. Comic books, and my eyes roll back in my head and start vomiting comic information at you.
We all benefit from that, Brad. So thank you. Don't bite us. We'll be
I promise.
all right. And that's going to do it. I'm about to say it for real. That's going to do it for this episode of the Alien Invasion, a Galactic Network podcast. If you'd like to read more about the stories that we covered on this episode, or, read more about the things that we watched, click the links in the show notes. We would like to thank a few people, including Monkey Warhol, for giving us the intro song called Alien Syndrome. You can find out more about that tune and his other music at monkeywarhol.bandcamp.com. Also, Rutwad von Dernberg, a composer from Germany, for our closing song called Be Water. His website is thecaravel.net, TheCarvel.net. And finally, thanks to Ben Olson.
Hi, Ben. Thank you.
We recorded our disclaimer audio at the very start of the episode, and his website is benolson.com. As we always do to wrap up each episode, final thought. Brad, you got one this week?
I am so looking forward to getting this 3D printer because I have a list. I know I mentioned this before, but that list keeps on growing, and there are some alien type things that I want to print as well.
Wait a second. I thought you already had a 3D printer.
Not yet. It has not arrived. It keeps getting pushed back because of unforeseen issues with mass producing a device in China when they're based in the United States.
All right. I have one right across the street. Like, if I wanted to use our library, which we live right next to the library,
Mhm.
has, I think, 2 3D printers. So if I wanted to print something, I could. So I don't know. Who knows? One day I may go over there just to check it out.
Because one thing that I want to do, one of these 3D websites that I follow, somebody made like a key to the Fortress of Solitude for Superman.
That'd be neat.
And it's like a crystal looking thing that has they look like bits of like a key that would stick into something.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to do is be able to print it out, smooth it out, and then take a mold of it and then cast it in like clear resin. So it looks like it's a crystal shard piece like it would be if it were Kryptonian technology.
Yeah. Then you make a whole bunch more and build the fortress.
Make that in the backyard. That'll be fine. Neighbors won't complain.
No, not at all. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Okay, bye.
Oh, I should have mentioned. Never mind. Never mind. All right, cool. Brad. This is 245. Alien. Number 245. This was nice to come down here to the basement because it is hot as Hang on. Let me stop the hangout before I start swearing.